organizations in the country, starting with the South African Council of Churches and others who've come to them to say, we like this idea, we're very committed to participate. What comes next? So comrades, there is, this is what they report to me, great enthusiasm in the country for this national dialogue. People want to participate. I'm talking about traditional healers, traditional leaders, everybody. At last, we're going to have a possibility to speak for ourselves about the South Africa we want. So what has then happened, comrades, that there was a discussion that arose in a meeting of the NEC of the ANC. The ANC having accepted this, ANC accepted that there must be national dialogue. The issue that arose was how was it going to be organized? The ultimate result was that it was agreed that the ANC would then discuss with the foundations about the actual organization of this thing. That discussion has taken place, comrades. And what is outstanding now is an announcement that will be made by the head of state about this matter. I can't say specifically what we'll say, but the intention is to make sure that the head of state, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, launches this to say, as you know, he has been saying many times, that he supports the national dialogue, and indeed even the government of national unity you've been talking about also supports. So he will then say, this is how we should proceed with regard to the national dialogue. It will set up a preparatory committee which will do the practical work to prepare for the beginning of the national dialogue. And that preparatory committee should be constituted, this is a proposal that has been made, should be composed of the NEDLEC executive, which is the government, business, labor, civil society, together with the foundations. That will be the preparatory committee. We'll then start the process of organizing this. An inclusive process. So I'm quite sure the party will get an invitation from that preparatory committee to say we are proposing that national dialogue should start at such and such a point. The party, you are invited. You are allocated 20 delegates. This will be the agenda, and so on. This is what all of the parties in the National Assembly will be invited. The party is not in the National Assembly, but it will be invited. So, comrades, what is therefore, it's going to, I'm pretty certain that the President, Head of State, President Ramaphosa, will indeed make this announcement in order to kick off this process. So, Comrade Chair and Comrade General Secretary, what is important for the party is I think the party needs to look at this matter. This is the very first time that all our people will be coming together in all their echelons to talk about the future of South Africa. And President Ramaphosa has made this point that what comes out of that, because it's the people speaking, that must be binding on government. That's the importance of the outcome of that process. Now, the party must therefore ask this question. Comrade Blade said something in an earlier occasion. Blade said correctly, I understood it. He said, therefore, the party is going to make sure that it organizes the workers so that the workers then are able to make their own input in terms of all of the items on the agenda. That's the kind of approach that's needed. So the party must have a look at this thing. I think the Central Committee will have to do it, to say in the light of this convention, with everybody in the country coming together on various topics, so at least an agenda of at least 12 different issues, how will the party impact on that process? So that by the time we come to the outcome of the national dialogue, that outcome is an outcome which for the party will say we support this outcome. That goes for everybody else. Because in the end, if progressive formations like the party don't do that, there are other people who are going to do it. You'll get different results. I say to some comrades that I know some parties here that have got much better access, for instance, to the intelligentsia, to the universities and so on, to call on those forces to say, they will say, please help us to deal with all of these issues on the agenda. I don't know if the party has got that kind of access. But I'm saying there are other people who will intervene. But it's your responsibility as a party to say, in the light of the fact that the nation is coming together to determine its destiny, we need to be very much part of the process of determining that destiny. And therefore, we as a Communist Party will do the following things to engage that national dialogue and all of the different formations that in that dialogue to make sure that they go in the right direction. So that is all I needed to say, comrades, just to say you've got an additional task this year, 2025. An additional task is very, very critically important because it is about the people deciding where their own country should go. Yeah. It's no longer Codesa, when we met in Codesa, 1990, whatever, it was the political formations. Yeah. This time, it's political formations plus the people. And I was saying, Comrade Chair, critically important, I thought it was before you disperse, that I should raise this matter so that the party is alert to this strategic challenge. A strategic challenge to intervene as the nation is discussing the country's future, to intervene so that it makes its own contribution in terms of defining that destiny. Thanks a lot, comrades. Amanda.
Amandla! 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 Comrades, thank you very much, former President Thabo Mbeki, for raising this important matter, putting it onto our 2025 agenda. It is indeed a very important matter, which, as you correctly say, the Central Committee will have to be seized with. And in being seized with, the Central Committee will also ensure that the provincial and district structures are mobilized around this, so that what the Central Committee says also reflects the rest of the body of the South African Communist Party. So we must thank you for this. Thank you also for attending our whole special National Congress. Now, two things about President Mbeki. By the way, he chaired the adoption of the path to power in our Congress in Cuba. He chaired that whole session that adopted that program. And I had an idea that if some of you were not cooperating, I was going
It's
to
13:25. To hear your notification,
come and do what you did in Cuba if there was anyone who was out of order. So I had another weapon, secret weapon. Now, I still continue to be amazed about your stamina, by the way. I remember where personally I failed to cope with you. It was on the eve of adopting the Constitution in 1996. And there were 3 outstanding clauses. It was the land, it was the right to strike, and it was education.
It's 13:25.
At least I was more part of the education discussions. So, Comrade Madiba then gave Comrade Mbeki
It's
to say,
13:25.
on this right to strike matter, can you call the alliance and have a discussion with them? I think we finished at about 4 a.m. 4:30 in the morning. We had started at about 7 or 8. He never blinked once. He chaired that meeting till we finished at 4:30 in the morning. At 2, I could feel myself that I was beginning to battle. And I remember Comrade Eunice saying, history will judge you very badly. Because how can the General Secretary of the SACP, no, I wasn't General Secretary then, I was Deputy Chair. How can the Deputy Chair of the SACP fall asleep in the middle of a discussion that is discussing the right to strike by workers? History will judge you very badly. But I'm still amazed, I have been now and again looking at you here. You are not sleeping or anything, you are concentrating and breathing. I really value that stamina. I don't know where you get it, even at your ages. Otherwise, thank you very much for that. Comrades, you have heard the message. Isixhosa sitolikwa. Huh? Ubani? Hayi man. If unifuna ukuthetha lama backbenchers, raise your hand. If I don't see it because I'm facing that side, just be cool. Don't try and chair me. I'm chairing this meeting, I don't want to be chaired. Now, we've really now reached the end of our Congress. But there are 2 things we must do to conclude. The first one, we will ask the first Deputy General Secretary to read the declaration. Okay? Which we must adopt. Thereafter, we will ask the General Secretary not to close the Congress, to give their closing remarks, so that then the chairperson can declare the Congress closed. Okay. So, we must be clear about this, Congress. No confusion. Where are the provincial chairpersons, by the way? Can you raise your hands? Where are the provincial chairpersons? There is one there. There is another one there. Where are the others? Yeah. I'm setting a trend of what you must do in your provinces so that we all have one line. Comrade Matala.
Thanks, Comrade Chair. Thanks, Comrade Chair. Anga! Viva SACP, viva! Viva! Forward to socialism, forward! This decisive and successful Special National Congress convened in memory of Martin Tembisile Chris Hani stands as resolute affirmation of our revolutionary commitment. Chris Hani unwavering dedication to the national democratic revolution and socialism serves as an enduring beacon for our movement. His sacrifice, vision for socialist society compel us to intensify our struggle against racial and gender oppression, imperialism, and capitalist exploitation. This Congress, attended by over 570 SACP delegates representing more than 370,000 members, fraternal organization and guests, reaffirms
the inseparability of the NDR from the struggle for socialism. The NDR remains the strategic, direct, and shortest route to achieve a socialist society. In honor of Comrade Crisani, a revolutionary legacy, we renew our commitment to fight for the working class and to realize his vision of a society free from inequality and exploitation. We also welcome the government's positive response to our long-standing call for an inquest into the assassination of Comrade Crisani, and to document his life and contribution to the struggle for the national democracy and socialism. Notwithstanding the political and social advances since 1994, years of neoliberal policies have reinforced the legacies of apartheid colonialism, entrenching racial and gender inequalities, deepening economic marginalization, perpetuating systematic poverty and unemployment. These policies have failed to dismantle the structural injustice of colonialism of a special type and have weakened the state's capacity to lead transformative development. The 2024 electoral loss of the ANC-led Liberation Forces majority represents a profound political setback for progressive forces. This outcome highlights dissatisfaction among the masses with the failure to address socio-economic crises, including unemployment, poverty, inequality, and the rising cost of living. It underscores the crisis of working class representation in electoral politics, compounded by voter disillusionment, disillusionment with neoliberalism and state capture, which has fueled a dangerous shift towards ethnic populism. The coalition government with the neoliberal Democratic Alliance under the so-called Government of National Unity represents a betrayal of the National Democratic Revolution's transformative objective. And we believe this coalition prioritizes austerity, financialization, and privatization over the interests of the working class and the poor. The decades of neoliberal economic policies epitomized by GIA and subsequent austerity measures have entrenched poverty, inequality, unemployment, while weakening state capacity to lead transformative development. These policies have failed to address environmental degradation, gender-based violence, structural racism, deepening a socio-economic crisis, and threatening to derail revolutionary content of the national democratic revolution. South Africa's persistent economic and social crisis underscores the structural failure of capitalism, which has proven incapable of addressing the needs of the majority. Chronic unemployment consistently exceeding 30% and even higher rates of youth unemployment represent structural crisis that condemns millions to economic exclusion. These crises are compounded by deindustrialization, precarious informal work, and policies that prioritize profit over people's livelihoods. Our health system remains one of the most unequal in the world, and is split into two tiers: a private healthcare system for the minority and the public system of a majority who are poor. The private system serving less than 14% of the population is well funded and provide high quality care for those who can afford it. Meanwhile, the public healthcare system, which serves the majority of South Africans, is underfunded, overcrowded, and struggling to meet basic needs. This inequality leaves millions of the people with little or no access to adequate high care. It is a direct result of years of neoliberal policies that prioritize profits over people's health. Meanwhile, inequality in wealth and income, already amongst the highest globally, continues to widen. The concentration of wealth in the hands of a few perpetuates historic injustice and deepens the social-economic divide. Essential public services, including education and infrastructure, face high risk of collapse under the policies of austerity and systemic corruption. Frequent power outage, water shortages, and crumbling infrastructure expose the failures of neoliberal governance and further eroding the dignity and equality of life for the working class and the poor. This Congress reaffirms that the choice before us is stark: socialism or barbarism. Capitalism has not only entrenched the structural inequalities and poverty, but has also driven environmental degradation, gender-based violence, and rising social violence. Only through the socialist transformation of society can we dismantle these oppressive systems and building future that prioritizes equality and human dignity. The Congress reaffirms the NDR as the shortest and the direct route to socialism in South Africa. This includes the grounding the NDR in the vision of the Freedom Charter and the principles of socialism to address socio-economic crisis, environmental degradation, and the structural legacy of colonialism of a special type. Mobilizing urban rural workers as well as the poor around common program to ensure working class leadership in advancing the NDR and socialism. It also includes rejecting narrow nationalist and bourgeois reformist agenda that derail the working class from its historic mission. The formation of the left axis for socialism, anchored by SACP and COSATU, in partnership with their progressive political organizations, trade unions, social movements, is essential for building working class power and advancing the revolutionary content of the NDR. The Congress resolved to, 1, establish broad sectoral front to address critical social issues such as youth development, environmental justice, and gender-based violence. Advance campaigns that prioritize state-led industrialization, public employment and programs, and community-driven economic development. Promote African unity and solidarity, resist imperialism, and foster cooperation among global progressive forces. The SACP's decision to independently contest the 2026 local government election is rooted in the need to address the crisis of representation facing the working class and the poor. This step is essential for advancing working class representation, ensuring that the voices and struggles of the working class and the poor drive local governance. Challenging neoliberal policies, confronting policies like austerity, privatization, and outsourcing to restore public ownership and prioritize community-driven development. Building people's power in communities, empowering communities to take control of local governance through participatory structures such as street committees, cooperatives, and local forums. The steps is also essential for reconfiguring the alliance on the ground, reconnecting alliance with the grassroots struggles, and aligning it with the revolutionary objective of the NDR. The Congress recognizes that the international solidarity is a cornerstone of our movement's efforts to build socialism and resist imperialism. The South African Communist Party reaffirms commitment to standing with oppressed people and the progressive movements worldwide in their struggles against exploitation, imperialism, and neo-colonial domination. The Congress acknowledges the escalating humanitarian crisis and persistent conflict across Africa, exacerbated by the neo-colonialism, imperialism, and local governance failures. The SACP resolved to support Sudan, highlighting the urgent humanitarian crisis in Sudan, where over 11 million people have been displaced by conflict, food security, and the near collapse of health services. The SACP calls for immediate international intervention to address mass killings, curtailed humanitarian aid, and skyrocketing food prices that are driving millions into hunger. So, the SACP also resolved to be in solidarity with Switzerland, renew efforts to push the Southern African, with Swaziland, I'm sorry. Swaziland. I was surprised in my head, what am I talking about? Sorry, comrade. The SACP resolved to be in solidarity with Swaziland, renew efforts to push Southern African development community to prioritize the long-delayed national dialogue in Swaziland, supporting the people's demands for democracy and social transformation. Also resolved to be in solidarity with the Western Sahara, where we reaffirm the SACP's unwavering support for the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination and the national independence. The Congress condemns Morocco's illegal occupation and calls for the isolation of Morocco until it complies with the international law, including UN resolution. The Congress knows the increasing aggression against actions of the US imperialism in Africa, Latin America, the Middle East, and beyond, aimed at destabilizing governments, exploiting resources, and undermining sovereignty. The SACP resolved to stand with the nations at the forefront of resisting US aggression, including Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Bolivia. It resolved to strengthen the South African Progressive Forum to nurture ideas, alliances, and platforms to counter imperialism and neocolonialism. The Congress expressed its steadfast support for the axis of resistance, encompassing nations and movements standing against imperialist aggression in the Middle East. The SACP condemns the ongoing attacks on Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, and Iran by imperialist forces and their regional proxies, including Israel and Turkey. We reaffirm support for the Palestinian struggle against apartheid and occupation, endorsing the South Africa's leadership in pursuing accountability for Israeli war crimes at the International Criminal Court. The SACP calls for expanding the Red Card Israel campaign and mobilizing global participation in the annual Week for Palestine. The SACP condemns the imperialist-driven collapse of Syria sovereignty backed by the US, Israel, and Turkey, which aims to shape the balance of forces in the Middle East. We recognize Iran's critical role in resisting imperialism in the region and opposing destabilization efforts by the US and its allies. The Congress celebrates the resilience of socialist governments in Latin America despite the sustained imperialist aggression. The SACP resolved to deepen solidarity with Cuba, supporting its recovery from Hurricane Oscar and calling for immediate lifting of the inhuman US blockade. We support Venezuela in its fight against US-imposed sanctions and recognize President Nicolas Maduro re-election as a reaffirmation of the Venezuelan people's commitment to socialism. We promote annual solidarity campaigns such as Hands Off to Cuba and Venezuela Solidarity Week to raise awareness and mobilize resources for these nation socialist advancements. The Congress underscores the importance of revitalizing class-conscious organization to confront imperialism and neoliberalism. The SACP commits to reviving the African Network for Enlarged Left Forum to provide a platform for strategic analysis and coordination, strengthening ties with African trade unions to rebuild their independence, refocus on worker struggles, and counter co-optation by elites. Encouraging the formation and growth of communist parties across the continent to advance ideological clarity and revolutionary praxis. Exploring lessons from the International Popular France contesting elections to inform strategies for building alliances that challenge imperialism and advance working class power in South Africa. In conclusion, this Congress emerges at a decisive moment for our country and the working class. In the name of Chris Hani, we rededicate ourselves to defending the gains of the national democratic revolution and advancing the struggle for socialism. With renewed determination, we commit to confronting socio-economic crises of our time and challenging neoliberal policies and building a future of equality and dignity for all. Socialism or barbarism. Victory to the working class. I will then, after reading this, ask you to stand up, comrades. And as an accompanying, as reinforcing this declaration that we are having, and opening your last page of your program. The people's flag is the best red, is shrouded of martyr dead, and ere their limbs grow stiff and cold, their heart's blood cried is every fort. Then raise the flare at solid high, within its say shall live and die, though cowards flinch and traitors near. We keep this red flag flying high. Look around, the French lives they blaze. The steady Germans chant its praise. In Moscow's voice its hymns are sung. Chicago souls they're raising from. Then raise the scarlet standard high. It is the say shall live and die. Though cowards flinch and traitors near, we'll keep this red flag flying high. It wave above our infant might. When all our heads seemed dark at night, it witnessed any deed of our. We mustn't change its color now. Then raise the scarlet standard high. Within its shade we live and die. Though cowards flinch and traitors near, we'll keep this red flag flying high. Galas!
He has even forgotten that evening declaration here.
Amandla! 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 Thanks, comrade. First DGS. We are moving towards conclusion now, comrades. Can I get a mover for the adoption of the declaration? Moses Mapita. That's too far. Why don't you come here? I'm very generous this afternoon. You can come and stand next to the chair. Mateo.
No, thank you so much, Chair. As Moses Mapita, before we move for the adoption of the declaration, we had thought that what was presented by former President Mbeki will also find expression. We will want to request that it is added. We therefore move for the adoption, Comrade Bruce.
Okay. Thank you very much. We also add the call by President Mbeki on the national dialogue. Okay. Now I'm being accused of only facing to the right. And that's the worst insult you can give to a communist. Honestly. I'm changing my face now. I go to the left. Limpopo. Limpopo. You can come here if you walk fast enough. Just to walk fast enough. No, we want to hear the voice.
Thank you, National Chairperson. I'm Goodman Mtilen, the Provincial Chair of the party in Limpopo. We wish to second the declaration, taking into account the amendment that were proposed by Moses Mapita. We are seconding the declaration.
Yeah, thank you. Don't think, by the way, that it was a mistake that I recognized KZN and Limpopo. I was wanting to make sure that absolutely nothing goes wrong, because these two provinces are known for their extra powers. That nothing must stop in front of the SACP. We have only to go to Wamhlabe Yalingana and of course the whole of Limpopo. Thank you very much, comrades. Comrades, order. We're now coming to the closing remarks from our General Secretary, Comrade Solima Paila. Africa.
All power. Long live the SACP, long live. Long live the AC, long live. Long live Kosato, long live. Long live Sanko, long live. Forward to socialism, forward. Down with capitalism, down. Thank you very much, National Chairperson, Professor Nzimande, and greetings to, once more, to our leadership, our officials and Central Committee members, Congress delegates, including provincial leaders of our party, the leadership of our Young Communist League, who are also part of this Congress. Former President Mbeki, and we appreciate your invitation as now adopted by Congress. We confirm our participation in the national dialogue. For us, it's not just to send a delegation, but it's to work through in mobilization of the masses to make sure that the demands of the masses receives national attention. No, the page is there. Sorry about that. Yes, Dallas. There are people I need to recognize. I don't want to forget that process. Thank you, Chair. Dallas.
Yes, the first thing before I go forward, having recognized our alliance comrades, the leadership of the ANC present here, led by Deputy President Paul Mashatile, who gave us an input. And I must indicate that yesterday we had an extensive discussion with some of the comrades who were present here from the ANC. And they promised me that they will give a proper report to the NEC. As a delegation that was here. So it's not just a delegation that came, but it's a delegation that will take up issues here for engagements with the ANC. As well as to recognize the ANC Veterans League, led by its president, Dr. Snugi Zigalala, who's here, and the leadership of COSATU, Comrade Mike Shingange, and various affiliates who are here. And to correct that matter that was made, I was told by President of POPCRO that actually is the one that registered his General Secretary. It was a mechanical thing. But we recognize all presidents of affiliates who are here. And I also want to recognize former president of POPCRO, Dr. Zizamele Kebekulu. President Zizamele was decisive when he was leading POPCRO on party building. When we went to present our case to POPCRO, he said, what can be done? We said we need to train jointly the party leadership and the POPCRO leadership, politically and ideologically. He said to the General Secretary, let's put a program which we did. After 2 years, the leadership of POPCRO decided on their own, without now telling us, that they've reached an ideological consciousness that now it will be appropriate for them to effectively contribute in party building. And Comrade President Mbeki, they bought us a building. We want to say thank you. We recognize this effort before, but it's an enduring legacy. And other affiliates can learn from this. That's very important, that other affiliates can learn from this. We commit to impart and to share political education with all our affiliates across the Federation. And not only in COSATU, but even beyond COSATU. We also recognize the leadership of SANCO present here. And I want to thank President Mdagan for staying throughout and his entire leadership here. We indicated that we have invited 2 SANCOs given the challenges that the organization has gone through. And we'll continue that process of facilitating unity within our comrades in the civic movement. Again, Comrade Chair, I want to thank Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma for staying throughout and engaging with us throughout this Congress. She participated in the commissions and made contributions. This is what we want from our stalwarts, to be available and share ideas. And we appreciate his esteemness in this regard. Thank you very much, Nkosazana. And to recognize our international guests, some of them are beginning to leave because of time, and the ambassadors present here from revolutionary countries. It's not every ambassador that attends a party congress. And of course, our local guest and the leadership of MK Liberation War veterans, led by Commissar Bobo Pemba and other comrades who are present here. Comrades, I want to invite the SACP staff to come to the front here. It's a small contingent of SACP staff. Comrades, come through. This is a small contingent of revolutionary revocrats. We call them revocrats, revolutionary bureaucrats. Yeah, that's revocrats. Yeah, come through, comrades, so that they can all see you. These comrades makes a lot of sacrifices for the well-being of the SACP and its programs. Truly speaking, this is the entire contingent that we have nationally. They don't even make half of any staff of our key alliance partners, not even a quarter of them. But they do very well, and one of them, colleague, she's celebrating a birthday today, and we wish you a happy birthday at Congress. Amandla, thank you very much. Siyabonga, my comrades. There are also two comrades here, Comrade Ulungile and Comrade Martin. These ones are assisting us in designing the layout of our publications. The African Communist, as well as Umsebenzi, as well as Comrade Mark Walla. And they've been giving us almost free service in many instances. We want to appreciate all of them for the good work they do for us. Now, comrades, this Special National Congress was very critical in that it has taken epochal making decisions and has given the Communist Party a turning point in the struggle for socialism and in the struggle to deepen the national democratic revolution in our country. This is the struggle to end poverty, to end racism, to end class inequality and gender discrimination and inequality, to end patriarchy and build a prosperous South Africa. This epochal making Special National Congress was characterized by robust debate and at points sharp differences. And now that we have concluded our discussions, it is time that we focus on their implementation. Those that have had different views, which we embrace, because this is what makes us a robust organization. The different views that were characterized in the robust engagements does not represent losers, nor even winners, but the strengthening of our democracy in building this strong culture of robust debate in the South African Communist Party. We have all won. The Communist Party has won. The working class of our country will become stronger. You now, comrades, have a task to report to your branches and to all your structures and to inform South Africa's working class of the turning points that we have undertaken. We have therefore taken decision to strengthen the task of the National Democratic Revolution in the struggle for socialism, and have reconnected dialectically the transgenerational ideological stances and struggles over the years that have at times become monolithic in the manner that we've been conducting our struggle. This transgenerational form of struggle, their consistency, we have given them a new impetus. In other words, we have deviated largely from a long-held tradition that today we are disconnecting with. For instance, the decision we took on standing for elections on our own. It's a very important and strategic decision that will rebuild and consolidate the responsibilities of forces of the alliance and all revolutionary forces in our country. This, like we said, is not meant to weaken any of our movements or any forces or components of our alliance. So we've taken more responsibility for the organizational form of that struggle. And therefore, we want to reassert the central task of taking the struggle for socialism to our communities. We indeed shall continue to sharpen contradictions in this new era. We are refining this new revolutionary strategy to advance the struggle of our people. We should not be complicated. Our people must have water. There should be no municipality that cannot give water to our people. And this, like what we heard in Umtata, in Libote, where we're forced to go and organize connection of a water from a benevolent businessman because the municipality in the district was refusing even the putting up of a borehole in the community because the comrades in the district says it's our responsibility to take decisions on bringing water to the community. Because they are not the one doing it, it cannot be done. We have said to those comrades, put up boreholes in every community where the communities do not have water. If the district comrades come, let's stand against them until they provide water. Before they do that, we continue to give water to our people. So we will have to change the manner in which we're conducting our struggles on the ground. So we're sharpening the contradictions in real terms. The struggle for food in every household and ending poverty is a direct task of all structures of the Communist Party. We must also emphasize, comrades, that we need government to end austerity measures and yet continue to talk about what they will do for our people. It's not possible for an elected government to simply outsource its political power as an elected government to a minority group of unelected bosses. So we want government to take responsibility for the well-being of our people. In this regard, we want to say to all our comrades, we must build the widest possible working class unity and remobilize the collective liberation forces to rejuvenate and resuscitate national democratic revolution and continue mass mobilization of our people. We have seen how the new changes given to us by the consequence of electoral outcomes and the establishment of the GNU, which we have asserted was a clear political and ideological choice, that this is weakening the strength of the working class movement. So the working class movement it's on its own. It must rebuild itself. We shudder to think the economic consequences of this new terrain, and therefore the missed opportunity to provide political leadership in our communities and to give a new direction lies in the hands of the working class forces. No one should do it for us. We'll have to do it on our own. The GNU must not be allowed to compromise a progressive agenda, including its transition to socialism, by reconnecting us with the imperialist powers. We must disconnect and de-link our struggles and our country with internationalism and capitalism of the bourgeois order, and build working class internationalism and solidarity of the people, of the oppressed people of the world, so that these oppressed people of the world in their internationalism can utilize their resources to advance their well-being. This de-link with international capitalism and rebuilding our independence will require a determined political leadership, particularly given the belligerence of imperialism, the roughness that imperialism has become. It conducts genocide. We've spoken at length, we've shared with you the political report, the genocide that it's conducting, destroying elected governments and states. And therefore, we need a new revolutionary internationalism of the working class. The BRICS countries must be consolidated, including building strategic alliances of the people within these countries. It is in this regard that we must reaffirm once more solidarity with countries that are at the forefront of the struggles against imperialism. Solidarity with the people of Cuba, for instance, with the people of Venezuela, with the people of Bolivia and Nicaragua, who are right at the belly of the beast of US imperialism. But solidarity with our comrades on the African continent, in Sudan, in Western Sahara, against the aggressiveness of Morocco and Spain and France, to support all liberation forces on the continent and to call for peace on the continent, especially in Sudan and other communities, including in Yemen and the rest of the Middle East, in Palestine, and to call for the strength of the current biggest battle in the anti-imperialist struggle, the strength of the Russian Federation, and the support that it has always received up to now from communist China. Because without that support, imperialism will have made strong advances in Ukraine. And China, we want to give it strength so that it doesn't weaken up, because imperialism has now said, if you continue to support the Russian Federation, we are going to impose more sanctions on you. What they are not understanding is that a new alternative has already emerged. We are living now in a multipolar world system, and that's why the contradictions of imperialism have sharpened. That's why imperialism is so aggressive today. And therefore, the time has come for us to fully understand this critical moment as well as the working class, and not allow the compromised political elites to drive an agenda to compromise our revolution. We should invoke the spirit of President Fidel Castro when he said, I quote, "Let's do all and everything for the revolution and nothing against it." Close quote. We should further say, comrade, that this platform to participate in the elections is not and should not be a self-enrichment program, but a platform to serve the people directly and increase accountability to the masses directly by the SACP. And in this process, we should be ready to be humbled by the masses. In this regard, we should allow ourselves for criticism by the people and we should use the living conditions of our people as a guide for our interventions. And we should follow the 3 firsts in our renewal and development strategy of the South African Communist Party. The first of these 3 firsts is to serve the people first, to serve the revolution first, to serve the party first, not yourself and as individuals. In this regard, we should expose and dispose of all opportunists who want to use our revolutionary working class party for their interest. We should never ever use the Communist Party for our self-interest. We are therefore taking responsibility, comrades, for the socialist struggle to end poverty in our communities and to build self-reliance of our people and to embed revolutionary values in our communities of solidarity and empathy with the poor and the marginalized. We must therefore mobilize our masses against crime, gender-based violence, and fight the scourge of corruption and deal decisively a blow to the concept of what we call simultaneous exequatur. Let me explain this because it's a simultaneous exequatur. It's a fish. It's a lice that live inside a fish. This lice, it attaches itself beneath the tongue of the fish. Once it embeds itself there, it starts eating the fish's tongue. And when the fish's tongue reaches a point of what you call in English, I don't know, this is the simpler version of it, when it, when the tongue becomes numb and it collapses, that lice opened its mouth and it becomes the tongue of the fish. So when we kill corruption, we must kill its source of simultaneous exequatur lice embedded there. Because we will not have a turning point, comrades, if our councillors will be no different from any other council. If our public representatives will be engulfed in the smoke of corruption. That is why we are going to strengthen once more the structures of the Communist Party, discipline and inspectorate commission, which will have a biting teeth, not the one that will point out at the problem and the leadership prevaricate all the time because they can't make this one to account because he's a senior comrade. No, all of us must account to the party, to the people, and to our revolution. As a Marxist-Leninist organization, comrade, we must always remind ourselves of the critical role that we play in society. And in this regard, we are the party of the working class that seeks to build a communist society, which is the only guarantee to a humane and caring society, that no one of a minority can appropriate all wealth of society. That is why the resolutions we've taken here to fight for the restoration of the land to the people is very important, as are consequential resolutions attached to it, including the one on reparations. This is going to be another huge struggle, and therefore we must be ready for these battles ahead. Our struggle, comrades, must be clear, precise, categorical, bold, and unambiguous. In other words, we are now confronting capitalism in all its forms in our country, including capitalism embedded in the democratic state. Because with that, we know as communists, there's no way in which we can ever end poverty. We need a socialist orientation of the national democratic revolution. It is in this regard that we must not allow capitalism to continue to throttle our democracy and our revolution. So our contribution, including in the national dialogue that is convened by government, initiated by President Mbeki, which we had previously welcomed, and we are happy that now he has presented this in detail here, so that we can understand the gist of what this is about, should seek to free our democracy and freedom from the brutal throttling by capitalism. We should therefore consolidate the rupture in the working class against capitalism and direct the anger of our masses and take responsibility to build an alternative economy of the people. And in this regard, we want to say, comrade, go and build structures of the Communist Party. We hear comrades here complaining that we can't contest in that and that area because we are weak. That's the basis why we should go and contest in every area, so that we also strengthen ourselves. We see where we are weak. With this, comrade, we want to wish you well. We thank you very much for participating and for demonstrating discipline in this Congress, for avoiding provocations by some, particularly provocations that had some different tones. We are glad that this Congress allowed itself for robustness, and I want to thank our Deputy General Secretary, particularly for allowing and extending more time, more especially in the period of the discussion around local government elections, so that we come out here more as one and united without any dissenting voice. It is in this regard that we will demand more unity going forward as we implement this decision. In other words, after we have had this comprehensive discussion, we will now impose centralism in the application of the discussion. As I wish you to travel safely back home, comrades, I want you to not only observe the rules of the road and to drive safely and to enjoy the festive season with your families and friends, and that, please, comrades, do not do wrong things that we in the Communist Party leadership will not like. Please be good citizens of our people. As I conclude, I want us to stand and observe a moment of silence for all our comrades who have since died because we could not process properly during the program, to observe this moment of silence. And this should not happen again, comrades, provincial secretaries, because we did not want to omit any other single individual, but we have a new tradition of our roll of honor. That roll of honor must be honored properly by all of us. These are revolutionaries that have died, and therefore they must be respected. And if comrades in provinces do not respect other comrades, including those comrades who have since died, they are giving us a signal about them in terms of their character. Let's therefore observe a moment of silence for all our comrades who have since died since the last time we met. Hamba kahle mkhonto, mkhonto wesizwe. Hamba kahle mkhonto, mkhonto wesizwe. Forward to socialism, forward. Down with capitalism, down. Thank you very much, comrades.
Hlalani phansi, comrades. Hayi hlala phansi, bamba umthetho. Hlala phansi. Comrades, it's very important. I said to GS is giving closing remarks, and thanks for those closing remarks, Comrade General Secretary, and he also wished you well. I also, as chair, must add on that to wish you a safe break, comrades. Abathintathintayo, those who touch, ningathinti kakhulu. Don't touch too much. Laba bangathinti, don't start it because it's the festive season. Ningalinge nje ma comrades. You look good. Everything of the best, as the General Secretary has said. But let me thank you from the side of the chair for being a very well-behaved Congress. You can give yourself a big round of applause. So, comrades, safe journey home. What are the announcements, Comrade Jenny? Or anyone, are there any announcement? Food? Lunch? No food? No lunch?
No free lunch, Chair.
No, but there is a contradiction now. The table is telling me there is no lunch, others are saying there is lunch. What must the comrades do now from here? Oh, there is lunch, comrades. Sicela niyodla nisuthe bese ningena endleleni. Thank you very much. Amandla. Comrades.